Hey, you're listening to Head Cannon Graps, and this is Off the Dome about WrestleDream, and this is going to be a different style show than normally. I usually do these right after the show, but I needed to watch this show about 3 or 4 times just to really get my wits in about it. I had to recap just certain matches over and over again because I didn't really know how I felt about the show. It was the word surrounding it is depressing that you hear from a lot of folks, but to me, this has been, I don't know, it's a strange show, and it's been a strange time in AEW for me of just storylines and trying to track where those storylines are going. And so, let's just kick off with the start of the whole show with Jay White defeating Hangman Adam Page in the opener match. Great match, slow start, but once they got into it, once they really got going, this match really took off for me, and I enjoyed it by the end. I'm a fan of both men, but I don't know. I assumed Hangman was going to be getting this match. Honestly, if we really sit back and think about it, both men needed a win, and both men are you have Jay White executing his babyface turn, and he's now entering this new sphere of like how does he navigate that as a single star and not just with the Bang Bang Gang. And you have Hangman over here who's also, in my opinion, was doing this almost Terminator style unkillable gimmick that, yeah, you might get me down for a second, but I'm coming back for you again, to just be the opposite to Swerve's unkillable gimmick too. But as you can see here, Hangman can easily be killed because Jay White ends up getting the win on him, and I don't know. I think that does a waste with the Swerve win, honestly, for me, because if you're going to build up All Out to be such a big moment with Swerve and Hangman, if Hangman's whole pursuit is to keep chasing after Swerve and Swerve's people and to get full revenge on all of that, why are we having him lose here? Also, I get that Jay White needs to win, so then why are we putting him against Hangman? I get that the storyline implications of one being taken out by the other, but I don't know. It kind of throws me for a loop, and I feel like we wasted a lot of momentum that we passed to Hangman from Swerve that is now not there, and Swerve's fine for it, but like, I don't want us to keep killing Hangman's aura. Like, yes, he got past and he got the win over Swerve. Let's keep pushing forward and having something more beneficial for Hangman as a star. Like, I'm Team Hangman. Like, let's make him one of your biggest top stars in this company. You've built him. He's basically the main star of AEW if you've been tracking him from the beginning and you look at a lot of the bigger storylines that have happened in the company, it's been with him weaved in and out of them. So he is the biggest star, so let's treat Hangman like that. But also, you've helped Swerve ascend so much, so like, let's make sure those wins and losses matter, like, and when we're capitalizing with those wins when we give them to somebody, not just dropping it to the next person. Because cool, I get that Jay won. I get the feeling Hangman's probably gonna get his win back on Jay, so like, I don't know. I'm curious to see where we're going, but I was not a fan of the match result by the end of it. But then that leads us to Mariah May and Willow. I wanted my girl Willow to win, but of course I knew May was going to take this because she's really not done anything with that belt yet, and so it's time for her to finally get to the next level of her story with Mina and with Tony Storm, and she keeps using the Storm Zero to win every match, so in the end she's still taunting her, and so we're waiting for Tony Storm to come back, which shouldn't be too much longer, so we'll see when we get that. Willow, I'm gonna talk about Willow a little bit later too, but in my mind's eye, Willow is going to be one of our big stars of 2025, and that's going to be one of our 2025 for AEW is going to be a very big solidification year of just like putting certain people as stars. 2024 was Swerve's year, and we're trying to make it Jack Perry's year. We'll get on to Jack Perry later on, but we're Daniel Bryan's who's already been a main eventer, but now we've made him a world champion and giving him that threat before he leaves out that he could close out his career as a world champion, and did close out his full-time career as a world champion. So we're building up these stars and stories throughout the company, and I think Willow's big time is going to come next year, and it should come next year. I would have loved to see her win this match, but like I've told my co-host on the WrestleHook Podcast that I do every Tuesday at 8 p.m. on YouTube, it's just not time for Willow's story yet. It's just, I need a bigger, grander story for her to win. And Willow didn't have nearly as much mic time. Yeah, she had to talk into the camera most of those times, and she got match time, but she needed more mic time to really dig into that. And Willow is one of the great AEW stars who is good on the mic, good in the ring, and has presence to her. People love seeing her. People are excited to see her come out. So I think her grander story comes next year. And on those stars that we're building this year, Mariah May has had her great ascendancy through the Owen Hart tournament, and also her winning the championship and turning on Tony. I think everybody's just waiting for that next big nugget from Mariah May and her story to see where that goes for the year. So I'm interested to see where that goes to. And that gets us to the man, pots and pans, Jack Perry, versus Katsuyori Shibata for the TNT title. And I was daydreaming during this match, but then it hit me during this match. Why do I look at Jack Perry and I don't get excited? Why do I, like, what are these things surrounding him, and why are we where we're at with him as a character? And it hit me, Jack Perry is Austin Theory. They equal the same. Both put into mid-card title reigns that they are putting the mid in that mid-card title reign. They, with the U.S. title and the TNT title, multiple U.S. title reigns for Austin Theory. Being surrounded and supported by a higher authority, Vince with Theory, and you have literally the elite EVP group that looks out for Jack Perry too. So they have those same similar aspects. His opponents make up the larger sum of how interesting he is, and I say that to say, when you look at a lot of those U.S. title runs for Austin Theory, Bobby Lashley, a former holder that he got it off of, that people were way more invested in Bobby than they were in Theory. Cool, maybe they'll grow on Theory. Well, nope. Here's Rollins coming into the scene too. People are more interested in Rollins. People are more interested in Bobby Lashley versus Rollins. People do not want Theory in this picture. Here's Theory bouncing all around the picture. Oh, let's have Cena beat Theory at Mania, so then we can have Jay White come in the company and talk about every idea around Austin's U.S. title reign was not what he could really do with the belt, but who could he lose it to so that somebody else could then have that title reign. We look at the TNT title reign. It's not been lighting anybody on fire. The opponents have not been really doing anything. The matches have not really done much for anybody. But now, look at this title match. And what's the most notable thing about the match? Is it the actual match itself? Is it anything about Jack Perry? And sadly, Katsuyori Shibata, but that just might be where he's at in his career too. Because I think the finish did him no favors, and it just made him look dumb as a veteran to not know your shoulders or pin to the mat with that move. But then you have Daniel Garcia come out, which, when I'm talking about 2025 projects, I think we're bleeding 2024 into 2025 with that project. Daniel Garcia, his ascendancy is doing great, and now that he's signed back, we're getting more energy from him. He's making it clear that, hey, yo, I'm looking at you, Jack Perry. I want that TNT title. I'm coming for you. And I think that's going to be his first singles title reign, is going to be the TNT title. But then you have MJF come out right after that to tease him going back after Garcia. To then have Adam Cole come back to return to go after MJF. And yeah, Jack Perry, before Adam Cole came back, got his little shot in on Daniel Garcia before running off and scurrying. But like, this almost feels like, and this is, I felt way better about this way at the start of this year than I do about this scenario. This almost feels like the Daniel Garcia, if you put Daniel Garcia, if you put Jack Perry, and you put MJF all in this little triangle together, it's almost as if it's the same Hangman, Samoa Joe, Swerve triangle from the beginning of the year. But you know Jack Perry's getting in the way of the match you really want to see, but you also want Jack Perry's title on one of the other wrestlers, so that way that match becomes more elevated. Just like people want Hangman and Swerve for the title, but we haven't got that yet. And I think that's the big last carrot dangling for their feud to get to. They're dangling that same thing with this scenario. But I think Jack is just the one in the middle who just happens to have the belt, and that's why he's here. So, like, that doesn't help him as an interesting character. That doesn't really do much for him. And speaking of his character, like, you listen to their characters on the mic, and can you believe anything from either of their characters? What was Austin Theory? He's the future, he's the now, but, like, did he really any time during that reign or even up to today show you what that is? I ended up getting a photo with Austin Theory at Money in the Bank this year in Toronto, and that was like a really cool moment to meet him, and he seems like a really cool, genuine guy, but the character on screen has not reflected or shown anything great or grand. And here's the thing, Jack Perry might be a great guy too, but his character on screen has not reflected anything. What is the scapegoat? What is a scapegoat? Like, when you really look at the whole scenario, what's a scapegoat? CM Punk put his hands on Jack Perry, was fired for his actions. There was stuff that came out in that interview that Punk said that Perry had did and his behavior leading up to that if you were suspended for 6 months, it probably wasn't because you were the scapegoat. It's probably because you did something wrong and you need to be suspended. Now, I've been suspended from school. I've been the troublemaker. I've also been the scapegoat in scenarios for people where the blame's been put on me and I had nothing to do with it. I don't really see people putting the blame for much on Jack Perry. Yeah, you can say he instigated Punk out of the company, but also at the end of the day, everybody is responsible for their own actions. And as a Punk fan, and I'm always going to be a Punk fan, unless he's just secretly a piece of shit, you can be redeemed. You can come back from your actions. You can grow. You can learn. You can do better. And the fact that his character is based off this scapegoat thing, that doesn't make much sense to some people. It divides the fan base, because then when we look at they use the all-in footage to bring Jack and all that back, and it's cool, but did it really do his character that great of a benefit to have that footage shown, or could we have just brought him back? I think Jack might be in a different place if we bring him back like that. Yeah, he had the great showing in Chicago when he first came back, but as somebody who was there for the all-out main event, like, the match was good and whatnot, but that's because of Bryan Danielson. Like, that, you have a main event with Bryan Danielson, as long as you're a decent wrestler, yeah, he's gonna drag you to a really great main event. But I'm watching him during that match have to pull the crowd up. Come on, yeah, come on. Trying to get the crowd excited, because Jack is not doing much for that crowd. To me, my imagination was, oh yeah, Jack's going to be in a TNT title match when we go to that show. No, he's not defending his title. He's in the world title match. We could have built Nigel up and had a better thought out match for Nigel and them there. Or just pull up the roster and go down it. Pick an opponent for Bryan Danielson. I get that it came out through the news that it was a backstage decision. Hey, cool, whatever. I didn't see him maximize that moment, and I haven't seen Jack really maximize anything that he's done since he's returned. He's built a character. I don't know what he's doing with that character. And you look at what Austin Theory was given. I don't know what he, in the end, did with any. Like, look where he is now. He's in a tag team that he now might be turning babyface, but not really. No one's clamoring for the babyface turn because we haven't really invested anything in his character. We don't know who Austin Theory is. We don't know who Jack Perry is. We just don't. And so, I don't know. he created somewhat of a better character coming back for himself off of whatever that was prior to when he had the sunglasses and the limousine and the orchestra music. He came back and created a better character for himself using the scapegoat stuff, and I agree with that. But it's hard for people's ability to invest in something that they don't understand or has not actually been fully explained out. And I mean that across the board, whether it's love or hate. You don't really know how to feel about the scapegoat thing. Should you feel bad for him for the CM Punk footage now? Is he just a confused kid? Like Mox said, oh, you're just a good kid. Like, so, and we're showing stuff like that as well. Like, is he just the good kid confused? Like, what are we getting at with him? And is him being the good kid confused, does that really help him grow as a wrestler or as a character? I don't know. And it starts with Jack Perry understanding who Jack Perry is and then explaining that to us. And I just don't feel like we've seen that. And I think we've seen, if you compare a lot of people this year, Daniel Garcia's, Mariah May's, a lot of other different folks, I think we've gained way more from their growth this year than Jack Perry has. And I think Jack has been given, if not some of the biggest spotlights to have those moments. He's been given a tag team title match to have his return, tag team title ladder match to have his return. He was given a big ladder match to win the TNT title in, instead of just being handed to him. He's been given blood and guts and Anarchy in the Arena and a lot of different spotlight moments through this entire AEW calendar year, but hasn't done much for him. As when you watch him on TV, do you get excited? When you see him come on and you know he's coming to town, do you really want to go see Jack Perry wrestle? Like, I don't know. It doesn't do much for me, and he hasn't done much for me, especially when I compare him against Jerry Lynn teasing the fact that Orange Cassidy could be the man. When I look back at the last year, yeah, Orange Cassidy could be the man. I just need him to get serious. Darby. I need Darby to just get the dubs. And he got a dub tonight, later on, against Brody King. And I mean, to me, that match was just strictly there to build Darby to the next level of just, we're stacking some wins. Just like if you look at Willow and Mariah May, I think Mariah May and Willow might be these forever rivals, and this is just match number 2 under their forever rivalry. But I think if you watch that, they're going to be 2 big figureheads for the women's division as well moving forward. Mariah May is getting that dub off of Willow now because she needs that for her ascendancy. And so you got that. You got Yuta growing, getting his dubs on Collision and whatnot, but also growing through his character growth and this story that he's been given. Like, he's been given the fact that he bled with Mox at the beginning to get into the BCC now. Will he stay with them? Will he not? Between All Out and WrestleDream, that was a lot of his story cut across all the shows. Mox trying to watch his growth. Claudio still trying to keep Willer's trust. Willer's had a lot of time to grow through that too. And whether this is not through story and matches too, I think Hologram is somebody we need to watch because he's been growing through his matches and whatnot. And that leads me to always come to my true man's pots and pans, Swerve Strickland. With his entrance at WrestleDream, coming out doing his pose, the firework display, coming out looking like a star. I hope the fireworks are there for the rest of his... I hope that's like his entrance now. I hope that's just his permanent entrance because he feels like a star. Where you came into the year where he was versus where he is now is night and day, and you can see the difference in the growth and how much he's taking advantage of the spotlight. And I love that. And I also love the fact that he's staying loyal with him and Nana. I don't think it's time yet for that turn. I don't think we've earned that through the story yet either. Yes, Nana keeps shaking his ass. Nana over here promoting coffee and everything else for his homie. But he's still down for the homie, and that's what matters most to Swerve, that he's down for the homie. And so when the moment comes where Nana isn't down for the homie, I think that's when he's going to get turned on. But until then, he rejected MVP and Shelton's offer. And it looks like it's going to be Shelton and Swerve first, and then we're going to build up to Bobby coming in probably after that Shelton match. So I'm curious to see when we get that and how that goes, but I'm liking the Swerve direction. I'm a Swerve fan, if you can't tell. Gonna be a Swerve one, Swerve until I drive, and Swerve until I die. All of that. So, but then we get to the triple threat match between Will Ospreay, Ricochet, and Konosuke Takeshita, and Will don't miss on a show. Will just don't miss on pay-per-view. Konosuke don't miss. And Ricochet, he doing his thing that now he don't miss too. And I had so much fun with this match. The match itself was not my issue. It was the result. Because if you look back over this year, it feels like we've been teasing and building to Takeshita and Okada for the Continental Championship. And we're going to do it in the C2, actually. And we're going to do it through the tournament. Cool. Well, no, he's got the international title now. And I'm just like, huh? I thought that was going to be Ricochet's title. Konosuke could take Will off to the side. They can have their own little feud and finish off the Don Callis stuff. And Ricochet can then build himself up with the international title on the show, building his brand and his name a little bit better, facing everybody, beating everybody. And then we run back Will and Ricochet again, finally, for Ricochet to finally beat Will and even up their score 5-5. So instead of it being 5-4 in a no contest. So I want to see that grow between them, and I want to see Ricochet grow. I don't think the result of Konosuke winning the belt off of Will, I get it, it was due to the turn and whatnot, but if it wasn't going to be Ricochet winning the belt, to me, Will should have retained this belt. And yeah, maybe a turn comes after the match. But if the story is Kyle Fletcher missing, and he's tired of missing and losing match after match after match, let him get the dub of taking that title off of Will. It calls back to Will's first match officially under AEW, when he had that match with him and Kyle on Dynamite that one time. You get the call back to that. He gets the dub finally over his boy Will, and he gets the international title, and then you can help make Fletcher too as a star. I think the company is so focused, and they need to be so focused on growing young stars, that why not put that behind Fletcher and put the belt behind him too? But I also see the fact that we got to give gold to people. We got to establish other people too. But in my mind's eye, the Continental Championship has Konosuke's name on it. And so why are we giving him the international title? And it could be for Ricochet to beat him cleanly, and then Ricochet move on, and then, because maybe, or not cleanly, maybe Will distracts him, and Ricochet then can get the belt due to Will's distraction. And that way it keeps that feud going. I could see that happening. I don't know. I feel like it murked up the water. I genuinely feel like it murked up the water, honestly. But then we got the Hologram and Beast Mortos. Like I said earlier, we're building up young stars. Hologram still undefeated, winning two out of the. Oh my goodness, off the dome, folks. I'm just gonna claim it right here. It's off the dome, but he wins 2-1 against the Beast Mortos, and that's pretty much it. It's a video game match, and same with the triple threat. I'd say the triple threat, and then this 2 out of 3 falls match. These are my 2 top matches for the show. Like, these were fun, exciting video game style matches that I'm not even gonna start to try to cover the triple threat spots, and neither with this match either. Go back and just watch it. It's a fun show for those matches alone. Darby and Brody King, like I said, Darby's just stacking up his dubs to get to the world title. And I think beating somebody he's never been able to get a pinfall win over, that's just a good establishing win for him. But then when we talk about establishing the future and young talents, you know what we didn't do that in? We didn't do that with the tag team title match, because you want to talk about just laying it on thick before a match and then not delivering. Man, talking about Amazing Red cutting a promo talking about it's time to stop losing. You got the new theme song. They've been building up the wins over the weeks. Talking about, hey, flex them. We done with the shot song. Even Amazing Red said, you're done with the shots. Yo, Alexa, shut up. I don't need your help right now. getting involved with Off the Dome. That's kind of crazy. It didn't even say your name. Anywho, like I was saying, they were building this up. Bucks come out first. Private Party comes out second. They even get a promo cut on them prior to the match. And we do a lot of callbacks to the match where the Private Party wins against the Bucks. But then we get to the finish and the Bucks just win. And I'm just so lost. I'm just like, what? Like, the Bucks are not doing anything with those belts. They don't need those belts right now. And they can afford to lose them to make Private Party a bigger team. We laid it on that thick so they can lose just like that. We need to build new tag teams in this division. We need to establish stronger homegrown stars. The MX Collection lost to the Acclaimed on the 0 Hour, and I thought that was ridiculous too because they need those wins. So give them those wins. But yet they lose, and then you're having Private Party lose now. The Acclaimed, though they lost, it was in such a manner that the loss fed them into the next win. This is not one of those losses. This is like when the Acclaimed won the belts, they did all the stacking like they did prior to this match for the Acclaimed. We did the stacking prior to this match like they were going to win for them to have that kind of loss. It just added to such a weird feeling of this show to me. Like, it was just, there's some depressing losses. And to me, the stretch of depression just kept going for me. Because then we went straight from that loss into Mark Briscoe versus Chris Jericho. And I'm not depressed about the result. Happy that Mark won, but I'm just tired of Jericho. I need Jericho off my screen. I'm good. And I'm only going to give this man about 30 more seconds because I didn't need him in this ROH title match. Him being a Nueve doesn't do anything for his career. It doesn't do anything for the ROH title, in my opinion. And I just need them to it helps Mark grow as a star, but just get that man off my screen. Get Jericho off my screen. I'm good. I'm solid. Like, I didn't feel any investment in this match. I was more or less just hoping and praying he didn't win. And he didn't, so thank the Lord. And moving on to the main event, which, hey, what an exciting opening. The final countdown for sure. We start off with a little brawl around the ring while the music's playing. I'm like, throwback to Wild Thing. But instead it's the final countdown. We gonna get every penny out of that song that we can. Especially since this is sadly gonna be the last time we hear it play. And that was the final preamble and the final notes of the countdown for that song. We're not gonna hear that again until he comes back and for his part-time run, which in my opinion shouldn't be for at least another year to almost a year and a half. He should take some true time off to sell it. But when we get to this match, I had fun with it. I thought it was a good match, but the ending the ending irks me to no end. But that's partially because I'm an MMA fan. And when you look at MMA finishes, the referee's checking the arms. When you look at past finishes with AEW, the referee's checking the arms to see if there's life in the arms. If the arms go limp, cool, I'll call the match. Sometimes they don't do the 3 arms up, 3 arms down thing. Cool, I get that. Well, when you touch his arms and his arms are then moving towards his neck to protect his neck and you're reaching to call for the bell, he's not out at that point then. But now he has to sell like he's out because the bell is ringing, and so that meant he is out. I didn't like that. Like, that as an MMA fan, like, just, and I say that, I get that you're an MMA fan. Well, this is pro wrestling. Also, this is AEW under 2 people who love MMA, who have made changes and added to their repertoires and their movesets due to MMA and MMA influences that they've grown to love or meet people over those years or get to train with those folks. And so whether it's John training with Pat Miletich and all of them, like, no matter what, there's influences in this match, and so you would think they would get that done right. And I don't know, that stacked onto the depressing end that followed with the attack and all that, I get the attack. I It's building up storylines. Darby, you can look on Darby's face and he has the weight of, this is my fault. I let it get to this point. If I didn't lose to Mox, I could have stopped this from happening. I think he now understands the weight of everything, and this was like the superhero sacrifice for him to now become the new superhero. But when I'm reflecting back on the fact that this is Bryan Danielson's last match, I've seen these two do the choke finish before. They've done it better at the Grand Slam finish for the AEW title 2 years ago. Like, we could do this. I've seen it done better by these gentlemen before for a world title. I've seen them. I don't know. I look at these matches. I think about the Jack Perry match, like I talked earlier. I think about how not sloppy, but just kind of quick it was put together for him and Nigel. I really start to believe the health stuff when it comes to Danielson. I am starting to believe the health stuff now, and the fact that he might really be just that bad. And some of the spots, and if you watch during this match, you could tell Mox was almost like holding him up and gently putting him down in certain ways, especially for that Death Rider on the floor after he caught him. Look how gentle that Death Rider is. I'm like, hey, yeah, protect your mans, protect your neck. But man, he must really be in some type of way. And so if that is the true case, like, was this the best that we could do with the time we had with him? And in my brain, I don't feel like it is. I feel like we did a lot of quick universe mode building, where like we just kind of threw out some storylines and we were just jumping to do certain things, or we were trying to move certain storylines around because all of a sudden we got a good idea and maybe we just had a hard day at work. We're like, instead, I want to do this match because I want to see this match instead. And I know that with his health and whatnot being probably the main catalyst behind that, and not just Tony's interest in like, oh, I want to do this instead of that one now. I want to celebrate some things. I want to celebrate the fact that, hey, when Tony did the title match for Darby, I like the fact that he was booking that out far ahead, because you know what? Let's start putting some pins on the board and get people's imagination and excitement going for future shows. I also get that for that trying to help booking as well, and like getting ticket sales together, but I don't know. I want to see more from their storylines. I get that we had to put the belt on Mox to make sure this storyline had a strong takeoff, for the sheer fact that you look at the Undisputed Kingdom storyline. Like, they're all baby faces now, and now we're about to get to the MJF storyline, and we're almost at the end of this year, when almost this time last year we were close to the reveal of them coming out as heels. So even think about that. So we're going to get that storyline finally, but now it's as baby faces. So, but the Devil storyline that took up so much time of television last year is now ended to a babyface group that we never really got to capitalize on that heel momentum. Yes, due to injury. Yes, due to time off, but also, nonetheless, it just didn't capitalize on much of anything. We then bring Tony Khan into an elite storyline, and we take Tony Khan out for that angle. And what do we do with the heat for that? What do we do with the energy for that? I don't think we maximize that energy by the end of it. And that saddens me, because I thought what they did with Tony was a great thing, and it was kind of a cool thing to incorporate him, but he never stayed away. He was working from home the next week. Like, literally, the next episode, he's working from home. Like, he's fine. He's just working, like, and then, yeah, the Elite take over, but Tony's never been gone. Like, truly been gone off of that angle. And he should have been gone, because him being here contradicted the Bucks' power. And so that storyline kind of faltered out. And then you had the Bucks. Then you had Jack come back in, and then you have people's mixed feelings about Jack and whatnot. And then you had the Anarchy in the Arena match, which was, and if we talk about a lot of different AEW shows this year, that I don't know if it's hurting their momentum or not, it's the fact that it's been depressing. You look at the end of this show, depressing. The end of All Out, depressing. Whether you start, if you stop at the literal, oh, well, the legitimate show's over, and now we're at the lights out portion. That title match is where Danielson got choked out by the plastic bag, or you can have the hypodermic needle, which take your pick on which one you like more, but that's a depressing end. You then go back to Double or Nothing with Darby Allin hanging from the ceiling, bleeding his head off, and Daniel Bryan getting beat down while everybody else is scattered out the arena getting beat down. There's been these depressing endings to these shows that I don't know if it's lighting people's world on fire, and I also don't know if they've had big enough results or big enough. When Captain America got beat down in Endgame, to have everybody come out to support him after was a big enough thing that pushed the movie to the next level. I don't think there's been the Avengers Assemble moment this year that's really kicked this company off to a big start. Daniel Bryan winning the world title. Daniel Bryan, good lord. Bryan Danielson winning the world title at All In. Great moment for him. Pushes him up to the next level. But it doesn't really do anything with the other big storylines that were happening this year. That has nothing to do with the Undisputed Era or Kingdom. This doesn't have anything to do with the Elite storyline either. So, like, how do we incorporate the big moments that we are having with these good title wins and all that with the main storyline? We're getting that with the Mox one now, but we'll see what they do with it. It's interesting that they didn't celebrate with the belt. They put it in the backpack to just take it. I don't know. We'll see where it goes. Maybe we get a belt change out of that, because maybe after 5 years they're thinking it's time to change the belt. And so that might be what we're looking to get out of that. We also might be getting Shane McMahon. And if that's the case, the McMahon documentary has softened me on Shane, but at the end of the day, I don't want a McMahon in this company, because this company's original mission was to be an alternative, and I think it should always stay that. And to me, having a McMahon in your company does not make you an alternative. It just now makes you a copy. But that's it. That's all. That's off the dome. So like, subscribe. Let me know what you think of this. And hey, we'll be back tomorrow to talk more about WrestleDream. We'll talk more about Raw tonight and whatever else goes on this week as well. So hey, follow WrestleHook at the WrestleHook Podcast on YouTube. Look for us. Follow me on here at Headcanon Graps, because that's what we do here. We speaking straight off the dome about my own little headcanon I got going on. So let me know what you think. Like, subscribe, follow. I'm trying to get to 15 subscribers. No, that's a small goal, but hey, trying to be small and mighty all at the same time. So help me get there, folks. Peace and chicken grease. See ya.